Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Ben, and today we are looking at the history of the Sith and how they evolved into the lovely group of people that you see around the time of the Clone Wars and beyond. The Sith's earliest origins can be found in the 100-Year Darkness, 7,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. At that time, there were only Jedi, no Sith, and they predominantly harnessed the light side of the Force. But then a group of Jedi decided that they wanted to be different and started to harness the power of the dark side. They believed that the true power of the Force lay in the dark side, but the Jedi Council didn't agree and regarded them as fallen Jedi and kicked them out of the Jedi Order. This kicked off the conflict between the Jedi and the Dark Jedi, which came to be known as the 100-Year Darkness. The Jedi won the conflict and the Dark Jedi fled to unknown space. Now what happens next differs a little bit in canon and in Legends. In canon, the Dark Jedi settled on a planet called Moraband, where they built temples and prepared to counterattack. In Legends, the Dark Jedi also fled to unknown space and settled on a planet called Korriban, which is actually the same planet. Look, it's in the exact same position on the galactic map, to the galactic northeast of Yavin. On the planet, they find a race of red-skinned people who actually called themselves the Sith. These people naturally possessed a certain amount of power in the dark side of the Force, and they had already built temples on the planet. But the Dark Jedi, however, were more powerful, and they easily took control of the planet. They interbred with the inhabitants and assimilated to their culture, forming the powerful Sith Empire. In both Legends and canon, they built a temple at a place called the Valley of the Dark Lords on Korriban, or Moraband. In canon, after several hundred years in exile, the Dark Jedi now merged with the Sith, counterattacked and started a string of wars with the Republic and with the Jedi. In Legends, it was hyperspace explorers from the Republic that discovered Korriban and the Sith. At this time, the Sith had basically forgotten that the Republic existed. The records had been lost. But after he realized that there was a Republic out there in space, Sith Lord Naga Sadow dreamt of conquering new territory for the Sith Empire. This kicked off the great hyperspace war between the Sith and the Old Republic, which the Sith actually lost pretty quickly, leaving them scattered across the galaxy. The Sith species had been decimated, but you know, they weren't racist. They would teach their teachings to outsiders. So adherents of the Sith philosophy regrouped and the traditions lived on. Now back to canon, which is a little bit more vague, but anyway. During this time, 5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, the Sith constructed many superweapons and fought many wars with the Republic. One such superweapon was built into the Sith temple on Malachor. The temple was attacked by the Jedi and the weapon was activated, turning everyone on the planet into stone. The Sith also invaded and built a temple on Coruscant. The wars culminated in the defeat of the Sith and the liberation of Coruscant 1,032 years before the Battle of Yavin. The Jedi then built their temple on top of the ruins of the Sith temple on Coruscant to contain the evil there. Maz Kanata's castle is also built on the site of a battleground from these wars on the planet of Takodana, which is actually portrayed in The Force Awakens by the English Lake District, one of my favorite camping destinations as a kid. Back to the Sith. The Sith's major weakness was their infighting, due to the fact that they harnessed hatred and anger. I don't think they were a group of happy campers. The Jedi took advantage of this and all but eliminated them. Only one Sith Lord survived, Darth Bane. That's not him. Yeah, that's him, as a Force ghost. I guess that'll do. In reaction to their defeat, Bane created the Rule of Two. Only two Sith Lords could exist at any one time. A master to embody the power of the dark side of the Force, and an apprentice to crave it. After Darth Bane was killed, he was buried in the Valley of the Dark Lords on Moraband, but apart from his corpse, the planet lay pretty much abandoned. Those who inherited the Sith traditions lay in hiding for 1,000 years, passing down the teachings from a single master to a single apprentice. But by the time of Darth Plagueis, this system had begun to fall apart, starting with his own master, Darth Tenebrous, who had trained an additional apprentice in secret to challenge him. Darth Plagueis later became so afraid of dying that he proposed a partnership with his apprentice, Darth Sidious, to share their knowledge and not compete against each other. Darth Sidious broke the pact and killed Plagueis in his sleep. The Sith eventually revealed themselves when Darth Sidious started manipulating the Trade Federation to invade Naboo. His apprentice Darth Maul was the first of the two to reveal himself to the Jedi when he encountered Qui-Gon Jinn on Tatooine. Darth Maul was on Tatooine to locate Queen Amidala to force her to sign a treaty legalizing the invasion of Naboo. But being an apprentice of Darth Sidious was like a reality TV show from hell. You don't just get fired.
You're fired.
You die. Darth Maul died at the hands of Obi-Wan Kenobi in a lightsaber duel on Naboo, although we find out later he did actually survive, only to be killed by Obi-Wan again in Rebels. His second apprentice, Darth Tyrannus, died at the hands of his replacement, Anakin Skywalker, who took the title of Darth Vader. The Sith had planned their revenge against the Jedi pretty well. I mean, they had 1,000 years to come up with something, and what they came up with was pretty good. Darth Sidious got elected to the Galactic Senate under his alter ego Sheev Palpatine. He eventually amassed power through manipulation and took complete control, becoming the Emperor. He had the clone troopers execute Order 66 to kill all the Jedi, but some escaped and went into hiding, preparing their counterattack against the Sith. It didn't take them 1,000 years though. The remaining Jedi joined the rebellion and planned to kill Vader and Sidious. Vader trained a group of assassins in the use of the dark side of the Force. They became known as the Inquisitors and were tasked with hunting down Jedi. During this time, the Free Ryloth movement also tried to assassinate the two Sith Lords, but failed. Now we arrive at the start of the original trilogy, where Darth Vader's son makes contact with Obi-Wan Kenobi, becomes a Jedi, and defeats reigning Sith Lord Darth Sidious with the help of his dad, who changes sides at the last minute but then dies of his injuries. And the Sith Order was no more. Although the direct transmission of Sith teachings probably died with Sidious and Vader, other dark side Force users filled the void. The Acolytes of Beyond were a group of dark side Force worshippers who collected Sith artifacts. Vader fanboy Kylo Ren, who really longed to be as cool as his grandfather, also embraced the dark side and the teachings of a mysterious dark side user and dirty old man from the unknown regions called Snoke. Although not technically Sith themselves, the two really did embrace Sith traditions, with Kylo being the apprentice, craving power, and killing his master, wanting to let the past die, and there was also a pretty girl involved, and you know what, I blame it on bullying.
Bested by a girl who had never held a lightsaber, you failed!
All teenage boys go through it. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this little history lesson on the evolution, demise, and legacy of the Sith. Please leave your comments below. If you're new, please subscribe to our channel. And if you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.